Local storage is a super simple way to store data locally. In this video, we're going to show a toy example, show when you should or should not use it, and then show some real-life examples of local storage. So in our toy example, we've got our counter, and the problem is this counter is super important that we keep it at the right number, but when we reload, it goes back to 0. Fortunately, local storage makes this really easy. The first thing we're going to do is put this count value in local storage every time it changes. So we'll use local storage. It's just available wherever you are in the browser. And we're going to call set item. And we're going to call it something simple like count. And then we're going to store this value there. And when we click this, we'll see that here, count is updating in local storage. Pretty cool. However, we reload the page, it's not here. That's because we need to get the count from local storage. So here we can do const previous count, and we'll get local storage, and then just call count, or 0. Just in case we don't have anything there. All right, and now our 8 is showing up because it's taking it from here and putting it here. Great. But there's a problem. So this brings it back as a string. And that means the string 8 plus 1 is 81, and so on and so forth. So we're going to need to call json.parse here. And now it works like we expect, and we can delete this, reload, and we'll see that it resets back at 0, and it's working. So this is super simple, super easy. Why wouldn't we use this all the time? So here's a laundry list of things that are bad about it. So it can only store string data. We already saw that. We got around it with json.parse. It's a little annoying, not a big deal. It's synchronous, so there can be performance issues at high scale. Can't be used by web workers, another performance thing at high scale. Limits the size, another thing at high scale. So far this is all scale stuff, but the big thing is it presents a security risk. So if this is not publicly available information, do not store it in local storage. So passwords, security tokens, don't do it. However, there are some things that it is good for, and I'll show you some real-life examples now. The first example where this is really good to use is for locally stored state that we want to save between page refreshes and between page changes, but we don't really need to send it to the server. In this case, it's these tabs on the sidebar. And so here, when we reload the page, it stays on the same tab. And when we move between pages, we don't need to make sure that do any tricks to keep the state the same. It's all right here in the sidebar tab key. Here is the code that does this. This is in a composable in Vue. If you don't understand Vue, that's fine. You don't need to in order to get these concepts. Basically, this is available all throughout the app because we use it in multiple components. So anyways, we have the tab key here, and then we have localStorage.getItem with the tab key, and feed that to the ref with a default of progress. And then when we set the tab, we set the selected tab, which we use throughout the app, and we set the local storage item, once again to the tab key. And so this is the exact same pattern that we used here, just in a composable. And so this is once again for data that is really important that it stays preserved between user sessions, but there's no reason to put this on the server. We don't need to know as administrators what tab they're on. The other use case is for data that really should be saved to a server, but you're still prototyping, And so this is a nice, convenient way to store it before you create your auth system and your server. And so here we can see that we are saving which items they've completed. So 2 of 4 that we're currently on. We have completed is false, and we have the series of actions that the user has done. And so the things we can do with this, we can block off everything except the stuff they've completed and the next one. We do a little bit of calculation. That's not all stored here. And we can also store the previous correct answers. So if their answer was a little bit different than what we expected, it'll store their version. And the reason I'm showing you all this isn't because you need to understand the exact details of what I'm storing. What I'm showing you is that even though it's just a string, so this is 100% just a string. However, you can use JSON parse in order to store complex data in there. And you can get a long ways before you actually need to build your server. I've iterated through several versions of this, and I still don't have a server. But I'm only going to need to build my server once, because I'll have landed on the right data structure. Then, when it's time to talk to the server again, I'll only need to replace basically this entire line, and this line, and replace it with talking to the server. And that's how and why you'd use local storage. If you found this video useful, go ahead and click like and subscribe. And if you want to work with me directly, go ahead and visit my website. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.